Hi, guys. Welcome to our latest podcast of Yarning Black. And today I've got a really great friend of mine coming in, Fletcher Johnstone. Hey, Fletcher.
Hey AJ, thank you for having me.
No, it's great. Before we do start, let people know a little bit about yourself. So, who are you?
My name is Fletcher Johnstone. I'm currently 21. I turned 21 this year. I'm originally from Warrnambool, and which is in the Gunditjamara tribe region, which spans from uh, a little bit from Melbourne side of Warrnambool all the way across to like Portland and all the other townships around there, on the southwest of Victoria. Mainly on the coastline. We're pretty coast based. Yeah, that's a bit about me. Well, actually, I'm currently studying at Swinburne. I was studying at RMIT. I've now switched over to Swinburne, um, studying screen production, so film and TV, and currently working at Scotch College, the high school that I used to go to. I'm working in the boarding house section of it, and I work in the city in retail.
Cool, cool. So you actually are quite busy.
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah.
But
Well, thanks for making the time to come and join us today.
oh, good. Well, uni's finished now, so I'm freed up a bit. But yeah, I'm working a little bit more now.
Yeah, cool. So, what subjects have you been doing in your degree?
So there's a couple of different ones. So I only started halfway through this year, because it was a second semester intake.
Yeah,
So the classes that I was doing, there was a few that I haven't done before. So one of them, for example, was a sound only class. So we had to do a lot of like field recordings, like outside using microphones, of just sounds. One of the assignments was just purely sound based. A little bit of dialogue, like talking, but you had to go out, film like cars passing by, trams, just the environment, like birds chirping in the background, and then mix it all into one like recording. It was kind of difficult, but it was pretty fun, to do that. Also, there was what else was there? There's like post production, so a lot of editing.
yeah.
Got to do like a music video for one of those. And what else? There was a digital video and audio, which is a bit of everything. So mainly, we got to do a few interviews,
Yeah.
which was good fun. Actually, for one of those assignments, I interviewed Rob Smith, which was a very good interview, and it came out pretty
Yeah.
good.
Cool. Did you realize how much work goes into making a movie before you started studying?
I did know, but like obviously, I haven't been on like a big production of a massive movie just yet, but I hope to do so. But in that regard, in the Hollywood blockbuster films, there is so much preparation, so many people part of the team. I didn't realize that at first, but now that I've started to study it a bit more, I've actually realized, yeah, it's there's quite a lot of people involved and a lot of work, which is good because it gives a lot of people different jobs in that industry. Um, but yeah, we were only doing it in small groups of about like four or five. But yeah, it does take a lot of organization within even just those four or five people.
Yeah. So when are we going to see the feature film?
Well, I'm not too sure, but there was for one of my assignments there was an experimental film,
Ah, cool.
and as a class, I think there was multiple classes. So not that long ago, maybe like 2 weeks ago, I think it was on a Tuesday. We went to Fed Square, and all of our projects were actually displayed up on Fed Square. So
Awesome.
it was pretty cool. That's the first thing I've done in that regard. But yeah, I'm not too sure when the main one's going to come out.
Yeah. So have you already got an Academy Award uh, or Oscar speech prepared just in case?
Not yet, but I I'll have one in a few years' time once I finish this degree, and um, yeah, hopefully I get into that industry, and hopefully I do get an award because I'd like that.
Yeah. What sort of genre do you like?
Um, I do like comedy. I feel like that one just because the course that I used to study was screenwriting, so a lot of script writing, which is
Yeah.
actually writing what you would see on a TV episode or a movie. And I just feel comedy or something that's not like serious, like it can't really be. I can't really write dramatic pieces. It's just
Yeah.
comedy, something that's easy. Just it comes very naturally to me. So comedy is probably my favorite to write and watch, but I don't mind watching like a thriller or a drama, but I wouldn't be able to write that. But I feel comedy is that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah. So you actually went to Scots College,
Mhm.
and what year did you go? What year were you in when you actually got to Scots College?
So I started in year 9 here at
Yeah.
Scotch in 2017.
Yeah.
That was after my brother had come before me and graduated.
Yeah.
So he graduated in 2016. I started in 2017, started year 9. So I was here up until 2020. That's when I graduated year 12. Awesome 4 years. Probably the best 4 years of my life. That's why I'm currently back here working because I absolutely loved it. The relationships you made with the boys here, spending so much time with everyone. Um, like you just got to know them very, very well. They're your best mates, and I still talk to them now afterwards. So yeah.
Yeah. What were some of the best things you actually did enjoy about Scots College?
Um, Mainly in the boarding house section. So there's the day school and the boarding house. So they're two different things. So the day school is where you go to do your studies, and then afterwards you come back up here to the boarding house. That's where you live. Um, there's not really like specific things that I enjoyed the most, but it was just having fun with the other boys there. The From all different walks of life. People in year 12, people in year 7. Like there's just people of different cultures, from different backgrounds, from different parts of the world. So it was just very interesting to learn from them. But just doing random stuff with them, just mucking around, was just probably the most memorable part about it.
Yeah. And so year 8, you would have been 14 at the time.
Yeah, I was about 14 or 15 when I came up here. So
What
it
was that like
was
actually having to leave home to come and go to a boarding school?
It was a bit weird, but to be honest, I kind of knew what I was getting into because obviously with my brother coming here,
Yeah.
I did want to come here before I got asked, and I was kind of prepared to
Mm.
do it. But obviously, still, it's I was a little I was a little boy coming into here, so when I came here, I was a little bit scared, but I did have my brother just down the road as well, which helped.
Mm.
And mum and dad always came up practically nearly every weekend to come see me and my brother, anyway. So that
Yeah.
made it very easy for me. And I also had Jamara starting at the same time. So I knew Jamara before we both came at the same time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't know him as well as I did when we were here together, but at least I knew somebody um, when I started. So I had somebody to talk to that I could actually relate to some things that they were talking about. But I got
Yeah.
along well with the boys there, and the staff always made it easy. Made it an easy transition to this massive school.
Yeah. So what? So now that you've come back, is it different, like being like part of the like staff?
Yeah, I still it is very different. I still act like a child sometimes. I get along well with these boys here, and I think they get along well with me as well because I've been through what they're going through currently. I can give them advice in regards to, sometimes, when the new boys come in at the start of next year, they'll obviously start missing home. I can help them out with that, but it is different because you can't do the stuff I used to do. You can't just muck around. You can have a bit of fun, but yeah, you're a staff member. You have a job to do. You have to look after everyone, and I make sure that I do that because it's a very serious thing. The the well-being of children and their safety. So it's very important that we look after them. So it's different, but it's still good fun. You can still have a good laugh with the boys here. So
Yeah. So what exactly is your role? What does it encompass?
it's titled as a residential tutor. So a part of my job is the room that I'm currently in is what I live in. So it's actually in the boarding house. It's in the same block as where everyone else lives. So um, I get that, and I also get to. It says residential tutor, but I'm not really a tutor. to be honest, a lot of the boys here are much, much smarter than me, so I wouldn't be able to help them with any questions that they ask me because I just have no idea. But there is, or last night actually, so twice a week you're on duty, so you're the sole kind of staff member that's on active duty in the boarding house with the year 12s now that they've left. But normally when they're here, there's about 50 odd boys in this house. So you're kind of looking after them all, making sure at a night time, there's the set homework times. So you got to make sure that they get to that on time. So they start at 7 o'clock, and they'll finish at about 8:30. So they've got to sit down for an hour and a half, do some homework, make sure that they do that. If they're mucking around, you can always move them around to another room, and make sure that they're doing their work. And then obviously when it gets a bit later, you got to start putting boys to bed. They've all got their set bedtimes. So the year 7s, they'll start first, and then the year 12s, they're pretty independent. So you kind of just leave them be, but you got to check up on them a few times throughout the night. So yeah, that's about it really. They're the major things. Other than that, there's just the small things. If boys are unwell, you send them to the health centre, that sort of thing. There's nurses that can look after them there, but that's primarily my job.
So you kind of on call all the time, or do you have one?
There's like a roster. There's different people here. I think it's about 5 of us or 6 of us here. So I'm rostered on for like a Thursday night and a Tuesday day up until about 6 p.m. So because I live here on a Tuesday, that's my set day. So I wake them up in the morning, and then when they all go to school, I just pretty much do my own thing here in my room. And then once they come up for lunch, they come up for about 10 minutes. And then, after that, when they come back from school, I'm active on duty. I'm in the duty room where the staff sit. But other than that, I'm not really on call all the time because there's a mixture of us. There's always somebody here that has to be. But yeah, I'm on call when I have to be here. But just in the case of emergency, I do live here. So sometimes if it's late at night, somebody's unwell or something's happened. That hasn't happened yet. But if, for example, I'll be here, they'll knock on my door and I'll be able to help them out. But yeah, other than that, that's it.
Yeah. Cool. So what other things do you enjoy doing? What are some of your hobbies?
I love movies, so I watch movies regularly and TV shows. I've always loved music. I listen to music quite a lot. I either with my speaker in my room, or with my headphones, just walking down the street. I love just listening to music. A bit of everything, really. There's no real set genre that I adore. I love a bit of the old stuff, the new stuff. Bit of like just obviously they're the more popular ones. But yeah, I love a bit of that. I've recently, alongside music, I've started learning guitar by myself.
Cool.
Which I'm not the best, but I mean, I've just learnt the basic chords and yeah, just do that really. I like to run around a bit, play some sport. I haven't played professional sport in a long time, like footy, like organised sport, since like year 11. But I love running around with other people if they want to go do something. I'll go do with them. But yeah, other than that, I go to some driving ranges sometimes and hit the golf ball. I'm trying to learn how to play golf, but I've got no clue. I can't hit it at all.
So you've got a handicap of what, about 1,000?
Probably because the other day I went to the driving range and I hit a couple, probably out of 100, I hit about 7 straight ones, and then the rest were going left, right, up and down. Oh, it's terrible.
Okay, so we're not going to see you as the golf tournament champion just yet.
No, not yet. I'm not going to be like Happy Gilmore, come from out of nowhere and win the championship. But it takes time. It's a very, very complicated sport to do. It's a lot harder than some people think. Yeah.
So growing up with as an Aboriginal young man, what challenges did you face either at school or in your personal life?
I mean, I've been pretty lucky in my circumstance. A lot of people have been accepting of the fact that I'm an Aboriginal man. But there's also like I guess the challenges, the main or practically the only challenge that I've kind of faced growing up as an Aboriginal man is the fact that some people don't really believe it. And that's a very common case. Like, you tell people, some people, right away will be like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. That's awesome that you're an Aboriginal man." But then some people, they find it a bit hard to believe. Because obviously I'm not the darkest kid out there, which is fine, and I understand that if they don't, because some people will be like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't realize," but that's completely fine. You're not really meant to notice.
Yeah.
But I mean, the only real challenge is just some people, I guess, they don't like the fact that you would maybe identify as an Aboriginal man when you're not the darkest kid out there.
Yeah.
Like there's just some people that it just doesn't click with them for some reason. I don't know why. Because we've come this far it's 2023 now. We've come this far in a world where we should be all accepting of who everyone is. I definitely do. With everyone, and yeah, I find that probably about the only challenge. Is just trying to spread it or raise awareness. That there is Aboriginal people that aren't the darkest of skin. So
Yeah. Because I've known you about 7 years now, since 2017, when you came to the school. What is something that you actually enjoyed doing as part of our mentoring group that we actually had at the school?
I did like how we could just have a good chat all together when you would come in and bring everyone all into the boardroom at school.
Yeah.
I like the activities that we did. I think we went to, what was the museum? There's a museum somewhere that we went to, and we saw like not just the Australian Aboriginal culture, but like the world's Indigenous peoples. That was a
Yeah,
pretty memorable.
Melbourne Museum.
Yeah, that was a pretty memorable one because we got to see the world's First Nations peoples, and not just our culture, but something like that. That was very good. It was a very big what is it, like a experience in the regards to learning about other cultures, not just ours. But and also with the sessions that we would have, just small things like us just doing some drawings and paintings in regards to our culture were good because to be honest, I don't really do I don't really have a chance to do that outside of that. So given that set time and the prompts that you gave us, it was good because we got to connect a little bit more with our culture in that regard. And yeah, otherwise I wouldn't have really done it because we don't really have much time during the school year. But yeah,
What's something that you would like to see? Well, stop 1 sec.
yeah, yeah,
I'll edit that bit out.
yeah.
I'll ask you a different question, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Is there anything in the school curriculum that you'd like to be added in relation to Indigenous issues?
Um, well, I'm not really involved in the day school, but I mean, I think there's a thing that they're currently doing. So I don't know if it's up and running just yet, but the school is trying to get a reconciliation action plan. So I guess that can be in the curriculum. But um, I know that you did come in a couple of times, I believe, and I think some other boys as well, and came and talked to some of the history students. I think it was year 9 or year 7 or something like that, where yourself and some others would talk about Aboriginal history and your story, and other people's stories. I think that's pretty valuable, and I think it's something we need to do a little bit more,
Yeah.
because it's very very important. We need to talk about these things so that the culture continues. That's how it's always been for us, and that's how it should continue to go through stories and all that. But also, I think with the addition of the new principal, I think at his previous school, they actually studied the local language
Oh, cool.
of the Aboriginal people up there. I think that was in Sydney somewhere. So they actually studied the language, and I think that could be something quite good if that was implemented here, which they might be doing. I hope, fingers crossed, but that could be something pretty awesome. I feel like a lot of boys would love that. Not everyone has to do it, but I mean, if you wanted to do it, that'd be awesome because then the language wouldn't die out. Both Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people would learn the language, so that would make it even better. Because I know there is sadly some places in Australia where the language has died out, or there's only very select few people that you can go to learn the language. But something like that would be awesome at a school like this, such a big school. I think that would be very, very positive.
I know your mum's been actively involved in the school as well with creating some amazing artwork. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so a little bit of backstory. So mum, in the past, probably like 10 years or so, she's really become engaged with her culture. She's learnt a lot more from the elders down home. And just individually, she's really expressing herself through that. So she's a full-time solo Aboriginal artist. So she does her own artwork. I've got that little bit there in my room on the wall. That's actually hers. I've got a couple of more things. So, but in regards to the school, she actually did the first Indigenous Scotch jersey. So Scotch made a big leap this year. When that one right there. So they made a big leap this year with designing or having their first ever Indigenous jersey. So the thing is, it wasn't just for football; it was for all of the sports' first teams. So the first football, soccer, basketball, hockey, all had their version of that. So she did a home and an away jersey. So she had to stick with the red cardinal. What is it? The cardinal gold and blue for the home one, and then the away one was the white one. But yeah, that was very awesome for her to be a part of that. And how she got the boys from the year before, she got them to help her with the design. So we had a meeting, and they threw up some designs. So she actually implemented all of those designs into that one, the final piece. So some boys have their totem on it. Some boys, I think, the blue bit on the side where like the stars are, that was one boy's idea. Mum really liked that. She was like, "Oh, that's awesome." But it was very awesome to be a part of that, or for Mum.
Yeah. I bet she was really proud seeing the boys run around on the field or the courts actually wearing it as well.
Yeah, well, sadly she wasn't able to make it, but I went and watched the game. I went and watched the football when they did wear it. I think we were versing Carey, who also had their Indigenous jersey. But I think ours looked much better. And I think we actually smashed them that day as well, which was awesome. All of us boys got a picture, all the Indigenous boys playing that game. Rob, Dion, and myself, all with those boys, got a picture all wearing the jersey. So it was awesome.
Yeah. And you just mentioned Dion there as well. We for our listeners listening, Dion was actually interviewed. I think he was the second or third person I interviewed early last year. But he was the first actually Aboriginal school captain at Scotch College. How did you feel knowing that there was an Aboriginal person as the school captain?
I loved it. I was over the moon. So yeah,
you were a prefect too, weren't you? You were a prefect too.
Yeah, I was actually. I forgot about that.
That's all right.
I was a prefect. I think I was the second Indigenous prefect after Joel Garner, who was a few years before me. I believe he was the first one. But then Dion being the third, and then but him, of course, being, he's a superstar. He's above and beyond anyone I've ever really met for somebody his age. And for him to be the first Indigenous school captain, or the first school captain to be Indigenous, I was over the moon. I was so happy for him. I was hoping that he did get it because he was, of course, one of the front runners for it. I thought he was the only person that could be suitable for it, and I'm very happy that they chose him. He's done such a good job this year. He's He's constantly been busy. We barely see him or around here because I'm in the same building as him. He just lives downstairs down the hall, so I see him a lot. But he's very very busy. So yeah, you get to see him for only a couple of minutes, and he has to go back down to the school. He's got a meeting. He's got to meet the principal. He's going to meet, I don't know, somebody important. But
Yeah.
it's very awesome because he can, whilst he's doing his job as school captain, he can also, um, you know, be a positive role model for everyone, but also the Indigenous boys at the school currently. Because to see one of your mates, one of your close mates, and one of your brothers up there on the assembly stage nearly every day in front of everyone, it's just awesome.
Yeah. I know you mentioned before you're from down in going to Gunditjamara land down there.
Mhm.
How often do you get back home?
I don't get home too often because obviously, well, with uni being done, I have a little bit more free time. But I'm actually working a bit more in my retail job because we've all got to make money. But I don't get home too often. It's normally on a long weekend or for somebody's birthday. Um, but I've been a couple of times this year. Last time I went was probably in September um, for my 21st. So I got to go home then. It was good.
Yeah. What do you really love about Gunditjamara land?
I actually love I don't know if you've been there, but the Grampians,
Oh yeah.
the Holes Gap area. I'm actually going there today because we're going camping around that area. But anyway, so I really love the Grampians because my my mum's dad, so my mum's side of the family is Indigenous. So my grandfather, who was Indigenous, he used to work at that little Aboriginal like museum kind of thing in Halls Gap. And he would, when tourists would go around, he would be the person to show them around, be their little bit of their guide. He would throw the boomerangs in front of them. But just going there to that area, I feel pretty connected to that area. I don't know why, but it's such a big open location. I think it helps that it's been pretty much untouched. Because there's so many trees. There's a lot of wildlife there. There's not much infrastructure there, so I think that helps with feeling connected to it because it's just it feels open.
Yeah. What else connects you to your Aboriginal culture?
Um, I don't really know if it is, but I think my love for music and dance. I used to dance when I was younger, but I think music and dance is something that connects me to my culture. I don't listen to much, like I don't do traditional dances because I don't actually really know any, but just having that, I don't know, just that instinct to want to dance and listen to music, I think probably helps me connect to my culture the most because that's what they would have done back in the day through song and dance, like in language and traditional dances, just that sort of thing. And I think artwork as well. I don't do much artwork. Well, I don't do any artwork myself, but looking at my mum's artworks and that sort of thing, she can tell her story through it, and I feel I can connect to that in that way as well, knowing that there's a story behind it, um, and how meaningful it is. I think that helps me connect as well.
Yeah. So the big question here is, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Um, it's a good one. I would probably see myself. I would say still in Melbourne, of course. I would probably see myself working for some sort of.
So you wouldn't be in
Um,
Hollywood by then?
no, not just yet. I
Okay.
think you give it another 5 years after that.
Yeah.
But in 5 years from now, I'd probably see myself in Melbourne still, but working for some sort of like production company. I know that Tony Briggs has some sort of production company. I think he was one of the, if not the first Aboriginal person at this school. Um, Yeah, I think he has his own production company. I saw it come up on my phone a few weeks ago, and my mum actually told me about it. But yeah, maybe working for them or anywhere I could really get a job. But I think it would be pretty awesome to work for a First Nations production company and try and tell some cultural stories.
Yeah. How would you, if people, I mean, I should this other question now, but we've got a lot of young Aboriginal people coming into the school and into lots of schools. What's one advice you'd give them if they're trying to explore their Aboriginality or they don't know where to start exploring? What would you
Uh,
reckon?
um, I would reckon, you know, because not everyone's coming from the same location. So, for example, there's some boys that come from the NT
Yeah,
that I know that go to this school. Obviously, their connection is much stronger than some parts of Australia. So, with my part, I don't really know much about my tribe, but with the boys that come from the NT or remote communities, there's a much stronger connection to um, their language, their dance, their songs, and all that sort of thing. I think if you're trying to explore it, have a conversation with them and ask them what type of things they do, what type of activities, because I feel like learning from others is the best. Because just trying to discover it on your own isn't going to work, especially with this sort of thing, because you have to talk to people about it, because that's the best way to learn. Um, but I think that's probably my best and slash biggest advice in that regard.
yeah. Do you find that boys that come from all over the country when they get to Scotch College, like they kind of end up blending right in, and you guys actually do create quite a big mateship as well.
Mm. I mean, I think we make it pretty easy for boys that are coming from, because we've got a boy from WA, we've got a boy from NT, but I think we make a very welcoming community. As soon as they start, they're straight into the group, because there's about 10 Indigenous boys in total here at one time. And that, yeah, as you said, there's a big mateship. Like they're always with each other with every recess, every lunchtime, even between classes. Sometimes when they go into Rob's office, like they'll hang out for a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
Um, we're not really, they're not there to pick on you or anything. There's a little bit of fun and mucking around, but
yeah,
that's just how it is. But like we make a very welcoming community, and I think that's the best way to do it. Because if you don't, especially for somebody that's from a different state, it's a big shift. In such a big school as well, they wouldn't feel comfortable. But with these boys and staff as well, they just make it very very easy for them to um, call a place like this home.
yeah. Because this current group at the moment has just also become a dance troupe as well.
A dance group, is it?
Yeah, they've
I
been
I have
practicing dance. Yeah,
I have seen a couple of the videos that you put up. I think there was some traditional dances that they were doing in one of the buildings down here, and I was like, "That is awesome! That
yeah.
is awesome that they were doing that." I think they even had a bit of paint on them, so they'll get it painted up. Um, it's just awesome to see something like that for boys that are growing up.
Yeah, because they're going to perform. They're booked
Oh,
in to perform at for Reconciliation Week next year at Scotch College for
oh,
both
really?
the high school and the primary school.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that, but knowing that now, that's awesome. That's a pretty big step.
Yeah. Um, Tell me something that people don't often know about Fletcher Johnstone.
Ooh, I don't really know. Um, I don't really know. That's a good one. That's got me kind of puzzled. I think the main thing, like the main thing that somebody wouldn't really know, as I said at the very beginning, is that you know I have I've got a pretty unique background. I would say, I've got a like with my culture in that regard. Like I've got some um like an indigenous background. I don't really know what else to say really. Like I think I think people would know a lot about me. I share a lot. I don't really hide a lot. Um, but that's I don't know. Yeah, it's a good one. But I think the main one that somebody wouldn't know is that I'm proud to be an Aboriginal man. Um, and yeah, I do want to maybe learn a bit more about my culture and connect to it. But that's about it, really. That's all I would probably say for that answer.
Yeah. Where would you start? You mentioned you want to learn more. Where would you start to learn more from?
I would probably have to start with the elders of well, any sort of elder, maybe in the region that I'm in, but I would probably want to start with the elders from back home um, in Gunditjamara. There's a couple of elders there, specifically Rob Lowe. He's one
Yeah.
of the he's one of the biggest elders from in that area. He's very very knowledgeable. He taught Mum a lot of what she knows currently. Mum talks to him pretty often. Have a chat with him just to discuss, how it is, how it was. But I'll probably start with him.
Yeah.
He's taught a lot of people. But just in general, as I said before, just asking people. If I want to learn, I can ask people like boys that come from remote communities or different parts of Australia that are more connected to their culture. I can just ask them. I can start with them. It might be different because as we all know that different tribes do things a little bit differently than others. So, but that's valuable knowing how several or different parts of Australia do things differently. So,
The last question I've got is, what would you like our listeners to walk away with from today's bit of yarn with you?
I'd probably want them to go away, just being aware, being accepting of people and their cultures. And culture is a sensitive thing. There is still a lot of racism around and discrimination, unfortunately. But I would probably want the listeners to go home, just be open minded, accept everyone for who they are, their beliefs. If you don't agree with it, that's okay, but you don't have to pour hatred into that. I would say that you can just accept that because it's not gonna it may not affect you in any way. So what's the point of trying to shut it down? If we're trying to be a more diverse country and world, then we should accept everyone for who they are, what they believe in, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's really great words, Fletch. I just want to add right at the end. Look, as I said, I've known you since 2017. I knew that little year 8 kid boy that kind of arrived
Yeah.
at that big school, and I'm just proud of the man you've become today. And I just want to say now how much I care and respect you as well.
No, thank you. It means a lot, and yeah, obviously, You're right. I was a little, 15, 14-year-old kid that came up here. I was just a little shy kid, but now, yeah, I've developed into the man I am now. Obviously, with the help of a lot of people, including yourself. Stuff like this, and all the activities you did with us down at the school there helped me be who I am now and dive into my culture a lot more. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Fletch. Hey, guys, so I'll see you guys at the next podcast. And again, just thanks to Fletch for joining us. Thanks, Fletch.
Thanks, AJ. Thanks for having me.